We want to get to a developing story right now. Tonight, we are hearing from a woman who says she watched a mother try to run away from her boyfriend's gunfire.
34-year-old Nicholas Finley now is charged with capital murder after detectives say he robbed and killed his 29-year-old girlfriend, Merseana Struggs. It happened at the park at Cumberland Apartments on July 19th. KPRC2 reporter Corley Peel shares what the witness saw before the shots were fired.
The neighbor tells me she did not know Merseana Struggs for very long, but she says she was beautiful and kind. She says the moment she heard gunshots, she feared for her friend's life. Bullet holes are found on Shawnee Drury's front door.
It's right here. They're all of them are right here.
Her doorstop is where Merseana Struggs was shot and killed while trying to run from her boyfriend, Nicholas Finley. Drury recalls
she was running for her life through the parking lot, wounded and bleeding. Her legs kept moving, even though bullets had already torn through her body. She tried to hide in a neighbor's truck, but the door wouldn't open. He shot her 4 more times. Still, she kept running. Then her body gave out. She collapsed on the pavement. He walked up to where she lay and stood over her. Then he fired 8 more shots into her body. The man pulling the trigger? Her boyfriend. Someone who was supposed to protect her. Someone who promised to love her. This is the story of Merciana Struggs, a beautiful model, a loving mother, and a 29-year-old woman who spent her final moments fighting to stay alive. But what led to this brutal murder in broad daylight? And what warning signs did everyone miss? The answer starts with a simple phone call earlier that same day. Before we get into this heartbreaking case, if you're passionate about true crime and want to see more stories like this, hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. And let me know in the comments, what state or country are you watching from? Let's build a community of awareness together. Now let's go back to where it all began. July 19th, 2024, Harris County, Texas. The park at Cumberland Apartments. It was a hot summer day, and Merciana Struggs had no idea it would be her last. The day started with a phone call that seemed normal enough, but that call would set off a chain of events that ended in tragedy. Before we talk about how Merciana died, we need to talk about how she lived. Merciana Struggs was 29 years old. She was a model. She was a mother. And according to everyone who knew her, she was the kind of person who left an impression. Her neighbor, Shawnee Drury, didn't know Merciana for very long, but even in that short time, she could see who Merciana really was. Shawnee described her as beautiful, kind, and a loving mother. Those 3 words tell you everything you need to know about the woman whose life was stolen that day. Merciana lived at the park at Cumberland Apartments in Harris County. It was a regular apartment complex where neighbors knew each other, where people looked out for one another. Merciana had a roommate who she trusted. She had neighbors like Shawnee who cared about her. She wasn't alone. She had people around her. As a model, Merciana took pride in her appearance and her work. She was building a life for herself and her children. In being a mother wasn't just a title for her. It was who she was at her core. Her kids were her world. Like many women, Merciana was in a relationship. Her boyfriend was a man named Nicholas Finley. He was 34 years old, 5 years older than her. From the outside, their relationship might have looked normal. But as we'll see, what happens behind closed doors isn't always what people show to the world. Merciana's life was ordinary in the best way possible. She woke up, took care of her responsibilities, spent time with her children, and connected with the people around her. She wasn't living some dramatic life full of chaos. She was just trying to live, to be a good mom, to make it through each day like the rest of us. That's what makes this case so heartbreaking. Merciana wasn't involved in anything dangerous. She wasn't mixed up in crime. She was just a young mother trying to build a life. And the person who took that life from her was someone she trusted. Someone who had access to her home, her car, her daily routine. someone who was supposed to protect her. On July 19th, 2024, Merciana's normal life came to a violent end, and it all started with a phone call that seemed innocent enough. Nicholas Finley was 34 years old. He was Merciana's boyfriend, and on the surface, maybe their relationship looked normal to people who didn't know them well. But there were signs. There are always signs. One detail stands out when you look at what happened that day. Nicholas was driving Merciana's car, not his own car, hers. Think about what that means. He had access to her vehicle. He could use her things whenever he wanted. That might seem small, but it's actually a big deal. It shows a level of control over her life and her property. In healthy relationships, people respect boundaries. They ask permission. They don't just take what belongs to their partner, but in controlling relationships, those lines get blurred. The abuser starts to feel entitled to everything: your time, your money, your car, your freedom. What happened behind closed doors between Merciana and Nicholas may never be fully known. But what happened on July 19th revealed the deadly truth about their relationship. It showed just how dangerous Nicholas really was. Here's something most people don't know. According to Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez, 35% of all murders in his county involve intimate partners. That's more than 1 out of every 3 murders. Think about that. The person most likely to kill you isn't a stranger in a dark alley. It's someone you know, someone you trust, someone you let into your life. Abusive relationships follow patterns. They start with small acts of control. Maybe he checks your phone. Maybe he gets jealous when you talk to friends. Maybe he controls the money or tells you what to wear. Then it gets worse. The control tightens. The anger grows. And in the worst cases, it turns violent. Experts say the most dangerous time for a victim is when they try to leave or when they stand up for themselves. That moment of pushing back can trigger an explosion of violence. Merciana was about to experience that danger firsthand, and it all started with a lie. Earlier that day, Nicholas Finley was driving Merciana's car. At some point, he got pulled over by police. We don't know exactly why. Maybe a traffic violation, maybe a routine stop. But while he was dealing with the police, he called Merciana. He told her he needed her to bring him the insurance card for the vehicle. It seemed like a reasonable request. He was pulled over in her car, and he needed proof of insurance. Simple enough, right? But here's where Merciana's instincts kicked in. She didn't go alone. She asked her roommate to come with her. Maybe she felt uneasy. Maybe she just wanted company. Whatever the reason, that decision shows she was being careful. She trusted her gut. The 2 women got in the car and drove to the location where Nicholas said he'd been pulled over. They were expecting to find him there, probably still talking to the police or waiting by the side of the road. But when they arrived, Nicholas wasn't there. No Nicholas. No police. Nothing. Merciana and her roommate must have been confused. Where did he go? Did he give them the wrong location? Did the police already let him leave? None of it made sense. So they turned around and headed back to the park at Cumberland Apartments. Maybe they figured Nicholas would explain when they saw him. Maybe they were annoyed at the wasted trip. We'll never know exactly what they were thinking on that drive back. But when they pulled into the apartment complex, they got their answer. Nicholas Finley was sitting in Merciana's car. Stop and think about that for a second. He called her from a traffic stop. He told her to come bring him insurance papers. She drove all the way there, and he was gone. And now somehow he was back at the apartments, sitting in her vehicle. How did he get there? Why wasn't he where he said he'd be? And most importantly, what was he planning? Merciana jumped out of the vehicle. She was about to confront him. She wanted answers. She deserved answers. But Nicholas Finley wasn't interested in explaining himself. He was interested in something much darker. Merciana jumped out of the vehicle and confronted Nicholas. We don't know exactly what she said to him. Maybe she demanded to know why he lied. Maybe she asked why he wasn't where he said he'd be. Maybe she told him to get out of her car. Whatever words came out of her mouth, Nicholas Finley's response was immediate and brutal. He pulled out a gun and shot her. Not once, multiple times. Shawnee Drury, the neighbor who lived nearby, saw the whole thing happen. She was outside when the confrontation started. She heard the shouting. Then she heard the gunshots. Boom, boom, boom. The sound of gunfire echoed through the apartment complex. Merciana had been shot, but her body's survival instinct took over. She didn't freeze. She didn't give up. She ran, and Nicholas chased after her. He kept firing as she ran. This wasn't a single moment of violence. This was a hunt. He was chasing her down like an animal, shooting at her as she desperately tried to get away. Shawnee realized the danger she was in. She ran inside her apartment and locked herself in the bathroom. She crouched down and put her hands over her head, trying to make herself as small as possible. The gunshots were so loud. Shawnee thought he was coming into her house. She thought she was going to die too. And then she heard his voice. Nicholas was shouting as he chased Merciana. He was screaming threats. And those threats weren't just aimed at Merciana anymore. He kept saying he was going to kill everybody in the house, Shawnee later told reporters. He was going to kill us for helping her. Let that sink in. Nicholas wasn't just trying to murder his girlfriend. He was threatening to kill anyone who tried to help her, the neighbors, the roommate, anyone who stood in his way. This is the mindset of someone who has completely lost control. Someone who sees violence as the only answer. Someone who doesn't care about consequences or innocent lives. Shawnee was terrified, hiding in her bathroom, listening to the gunshots and the screaming. She didn't know if Merciana was still alive. She didn't know if Nicholas would break into her home next. All she could do was wait and pray. Meanwhile, outside in the parking lot, Merciana was still fighting for her life. Even with bullets in her body, even with a killer chasing her, she kept moving. She wasn't ready to die. Not yet. This case shows how quickly domestic situations can turn deadly. If this story is affecting you, or if you've witnessed something similar in your community, drop a comment below. Your story matters, and sharing awareness can save lives. And if you're finding value in this coverage, please hit that like button. It helps this story reach more people who need to hear it. But Merciana wasn't done fighting. Even with bullets in her body, even with Nicholas chasing her with a loaded gun, she refused to give up. What happened next shows the incredible strength of the human will to survive. Merciana was running through the parking lot, bleeding and in pain. She had already been shot multiple times, but her body kept moving. Her mind had one goal: survive. She spotted Shawnee Drury's truck parked nearby. If she could just get inside, maybe she could lock the doors. Maybe she could be safe. Maybe someone would come help her. She reached the truck and grabbed the door handle. She pulled hard, trying to get it open, but the door wouldn't budge. It was locked. Merciana was trapped in the open with nowhere to hide, and Nicholas was right behind her. He fired again. 4 or 5 more bullets hit her body near the truck. The pain must have been unbearable. Most people would have collapsed right there. Most people's bodies would have shut down. But Merciana kept moving. This is the incredible thing about the human will to survive. Even when your body is broken, even when the odds are impossible, something inside you keeps fighting. Merciana's body was failing, but her spirit wasn't ready to quit. She pushed forward, moving further into the parking lot. Every step must have taken everything she had left. Her vision was probably fading. Her legs were probably shaking. But she kept going. And then her body finally gave out. Merciana collapsed on the pavement. She couldn't run anymore. She couldn't fight anymore. She lay there, wounded and helpless. Nicholas Finley walked up to where she had fallen. He stood over her body. And in those final moments, Merciana must have known what was coming. Harris County Sheriff Ed Gonzalez would later describe this moment with words that cut straight to the heart of this tragedy. He said Merciana was running for her life from someone who was supposed to love her. Think about that. The man standing over her wasn't a stranger. He wasn't some random criminal. He was her boyfriend, someone she had trusted, someone she had let into her life, someone who was supposed to protect her, not destroy her. Nicholas pointed the gun down at Merciana and fired 8 more times. 8 more times. In total, Merseana Struggs was shot approximately 13 times. 13 bullets tore through her body. 13 times Nicholas Finley pulled that trigger. Merciana died right there in the parking lot of her own apartment complex. The place where she lived. The place where she should have been safe. After the final shot, there was silence. The kind of heavy, terrible silence that follows violence. No more gunshots, no more screaming. Just the sound of a life that had been stolen. Merciana Struggs was 29 years old. She was a mother. She was a model. She was a kind person who deserved so much better than this. And the man who killed her wasn't finished yet. After Nicholas Finley shot Merciana 13 times, he didn't call 911. He didn't check to see if she was still breathing. He didn't show any remorse or panic about what he had just done. Instead, he walked over to where Merciana's body lay and took her purse. He grabbed her car keys. Even in death, he was still taking from her, still controlling her, still treating her belongings like they were his. Then Nicholas got into Merciana's car and drove away. He left her body lying in the parking lot and fled the scene like a coward. The community was in shock. Neighbors who heard the gunshots couldn't believe what had just happened. Shawnee Drury, Audie, who had hidden in her bathroom fearing for her own life, had to process the fact that her neighbor was dead. Merciana's roommate had to deal with the trauma of losing someone she cared about to such brutal violence. Law enforcement immediately began searching for Nicholas Finley. They knew who he was. They knew what he was driving. Now they just had to find him. 4 days passed. July 19th, July 20th, July 21st, July 22nd. For 4 days, Nicholas Finley was out there somewhere, driving Merciana's car, carrying her stolen belongings. Finally, on July 23rd, officers located the vehicle. When they found the car, they found Nicholas Finley. He was arrested and taken into custody. The charges against him were serious. Nicholas Finley was charged with capital murder. In Texas, capital murder isn't just regular murder. It's murder plus another serious crime, in this case robbery. He didn't just kill Merciana, he also stole her purse and her car. Capital murder is the most serious charge you can face in Texas. It can carry the death penalty or life in prison without parole. Nicholas Finley was denied bond. That means he couldn't pay money to get out of jail while waiting for trial. He would stay locked up, which is exactly where he belonged. But while Nicholas sat in a cell, Merciana's family was planning a funeral. Her children had lost their mother. And the community was left asking one question: how do we stop this from happening again? Merciana Struggs is not the only victim. Her story is part of a much bigger and deadlier problem happening all across America. Sheriff Ed Gonzalez shared a shocking fact. In Harris County, 35% of all murders involve intimate partners. That's more than 1 out of every 3 people who are murdered. They're not killed by strangers or random criminals. They're killed by someone they're dating, someone they're married to, or someone they used to be with. And this isn't just a Texas problem. This is happening everywhere, in every state, in every city, in small towns and big cities alike. Intimate partner violence is an epidemic, and it's killing people every single day. The Houston Area Women's Center released data that should terrify everyone. When there's a gun in an abusive home, the risk of someone dying goes up by 500%. 500%. That means having a gun in the house makes it 5 times more likely that the abuse will turn deadly. Nicholas Finley had a gun, and he used it to shoot Merciana 13 times. When you look at Merciana's case, you can see all the common warning signs that experts talk about. First, there was control. Nicholas was driving her car. He had access to her things. He felt entitled to her property and her time. Second, there was the presence of a firearm. Guns don't cause abuse, but they make abuse deadly. Third, there were isolation tactics. Nicholas didn't just threaten Merciana, he threatened her neighbors. He screamed that he would kill everyone in the house for helping her. He wanted to cut her off from anyone who might protect her. And fourth, the violence happened during a confrontation. Merciana stood up to Nicholas. She questioned him. She asserted herself. And that's when he snapped. Experts say this is the most dangerous time for victims, when they try to leave or when they push back against the abuser's control. Merciana's story is one of thousands. But each one of those thousands represents a real person, a real family, real children left behind without a parent. These aren't just numbers. These are mothers, daughters, sisters, and friends. People who deserve to live long, happy lives. People who were stolen from us by violence. So what can we do to stop this? How do we protect people before it's too late? The best way to honor Merciana's memory is to learn from her story and help prevent this from happening to someone else. So let's talk about the warning signs and what you can do to stay safe. First, you need to know what abuse looks like. It doesn't always start with hitting. It usually starts with control. Does your partner check your phone constantly? Do they demand to know where you are at all times? Do they control the money and make you ask permission to spend anything? Do they tell you what to wear or who you can talk to? That's not love. That's control. Does your partner try to isolate you from friends and family? Do they make you feel guilty for spending time with other people? Do they badmouth the people who care about you? Abusers want you alone because it's easier to control someone who has no support system. Does your partner show extreme jealousy? Do they accuse you of cheating when you're not? Do they get angry when you talk to other people? Jealousy might seem romantic at first, but extreme jealousy is a red flag. Has your partner ever threatened you? Even if they say, "I was just joking," afterward, threats are serious. Terry. And if your partner has access to weapons, those threats become even more dangerous. Pay attention to patterns. Is the behavior getting worse over time? Is your partner's anger happening more often? That's called escalation, and it's a major warning sign. If you're in an abusive relationship, you need a safety plan. Identify a safe place you can go, a friend's house, a family member's home, or a shelter. Keep important documents like your ID, birth certificate, and bank information somewhere your partner can't find them. Have emergency contacts saved in your phone. And most importantly, trust your instincts. Merciana brought her roommate with her that day. She sensed something might be wrong. Always listen to that inner voice. If someone you know is in an abusive relationship, here's how you can help. Don't judge them. See, don't ask, "Why don't you just leave?" Leaving is complicated and dangerous. Instead, offer consistent support. Let them know you're there for them. Provide resources without pressure. Give them the number for the National Domestic Violence Hotline. And be there when they're ready to leave, because that's when they'll need you most. But individual action isn't enough. We need bigger changes too. We need laws that keep guns away from abusers. We need more funding for prevention programs and shelters. And we need to hold abusers accountable instead of making excuses for them. If you or someone you know is in danger, please reach out for help. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is available 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. The number is 1-800-799-7233. All calls are confidential, and they can help you create a safety plan. You are not alone. You deserve to be safe, and there are people who want to help you. If this case touched you, please share this video. It could reach someone who needs to hear this message, and I want to hear from you. What do you think can be done to prevent tragedies like this? What changes need to happen? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Your voice matters in this conversation. Merseana Struggs was more than a headline. She was more than a true crime story. She was a mother who should be watching her children grow up right now. She was a neighbor who showed kindness to the people around her. She was a woman who deserved to feel safe with the person she trusted. Instead, she spent her final moments running for her life. The ultimate betrayal of intimate partner violence is that the danger comes from someone who promised to love you. We can't bring Merciana back, but we can honor her memory by spreading awareness, supporting survivors, and demanding change. Rest in peace, Merseana Struggs. Your story will not be forgotten, and if you or someone you know is in danger, please reach out. The National Domestic Violence Hotline is 1-800-799-7233. You are not alone. Thank you for watching. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next video.